Welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show with live peoples. This is live Thursday on Ustream, recorded for Ustream on ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I was having a bit of a play in Daydreams, Hannah Carlson's Daydreams, and I thought I'd play with these Derwent line pens. It's got an ink in it, but it's an acrylic ink, so when it dries it's permanent, but you can actually water them down if you're quick. So I was having a bit of a play and I was enjoying myself and doing some lovely soft watercolour effects, and then I had a bit of a blob. The pen blobbed. Now these pens are fantastic, but if you don't watch out and you nip the nib down, you get a blob of colour. So instead of wiping it off, I decided, I'm a tight Yorkshire lass, I'll use it. Now it blobbed on the page and the pen was dripping, so I then put it over the top of the little dish, and I managed to catch a little bit of it. But the pen and the lid was all full. So I thought, well, I'm not wasting it. So I took my little Derwent water brush and I just carried on. And every time I got very pale, I touched the end of the pen, not where the nib is, but where I knew there was some spillage. And as you can see, it's done it again, this purple. But if you can see the nib, it's not shiny. So there's ink on there. If it's dried, you can't reconstitute it, but if it's wet ink, you can. So I carried on. And there was still quite a lot of colour left, so I thought, well, I'm not going to wipe it off. So I managed to colour this entire page and the other with the blob of blue. And I do have to say there wasn't a scrap left. By the time I'd finished, the end of the brush was clean again. The pen liner pen was clean. So I didn't spill, I didn't waste any drop. Every bit of colour that came out of that pen went on this page. So I was playing again this morning. In fact, I wasn't. I think I was doing this one. I was doing this one. And I had a blob. And I thought, oh dear, what can I do? So I didn't actually have a drip, but the pen nib was flooded. So I coloured this in. And I thought, okay, there can't be any more colour. So I wiped it and I got this from it. So I could, oh sorry, I tell a lie. So today I was colouring and I had another blob. And because it was my live show, I thought, oh, well, that's okay, because I can just show what happens when you have a bit of a blobby moment. So I opened the book and I coloured this. So this is, again, all these beautiful shades and tones. And I wiped the pen. But I didn't wipe the nib, but I wiped the pen, and I wasted that. So what I thought I would do is show you exactly how you can take the ink that's on here. Now if it was dried, as I say, it wouldn't come off, but because it isn't, you can. Oh, thank you, Judy, thank you. She says those blobs turn out amazing. So I've got my number 1 Derwent brush because it's the driest one. I have a baby wipe. And all I did was just touch where I thought there was colour. Now this may not work because it might have dried. It was a few hours ago. So I'm going to swap places with this. And we'll just have a look. Oh, and sure enough, we have a dark colour. So I'll zoom in and I'm going to finish this page. And I'm not doing anything. It's just because it was a blobby, it's just going to waste. I'm not going to wipe the pen, which you should do. I'm actually going to show you how you can how you can colour. So that one's quite strong. Oops, I put my other light on because so I don't want to go next. I'm going to miss one and go here. And then I might go somewhere else. So we've got a mushroom down here somewhere. So actually, I'm not going to do the mushroom. I'm going to do the little leaves. I'm going to do the leaves. And it's quite pale. So now when I go back up here, I've got a pale. Now, because it's not quite dry, I can pick up a little bit of that colour. But again, that's one thing that we don't normally do on our colour books because it makes a hole. But I can touch here. That might be too much. Oh, just enough. So if I'm touching here where I think there's a lot, I'm getting dark colour. But if I touch here, and I always go in where I think I want it the darkest, and then if I make a mess, it doesn't matter. So again, and this is just using colour up that I want to clean this brush. So, oops, now I've made a bit of a boo-boo there, but never mind. So you can take this colour up here, and it's very pale. Normally I don't do it wet twice because colour books don't like that, but this Hannah Carlson can just about take that. And that kind was a bit dark for down there, but again, really don't want to touch things twice, but just about get away with it. So then I want to go back . So I think I've got a theory that if you just touch the nib with a water brush, you're going to get colour off it. And then you can just keep colouring indefinitely by touching the nib. And then we'll put that one down, come backwards. And in theory, by the time we get to the middle, but remember this is acrylic ink. It's not water-based, it's ink based, and once it's dried, that's it. And they are designed to be thrown onto watercolour paper and have vibrant colours. They're not really designed for this, it's just this is how I use it. So I think if we touch the nib here, it's quite pale, but if we touch the nib there, you can get some quite dark colour. So I'll come back up here. And I did this particular way of working when I was in hospital with hubby. And all I did was I touched the colour with the water brush. And then when it was getting paler, I just moved somewhere else. I moved somewhere else and paler. And then you can come back and you've got a difference even though you haven't gone far away. And then if you want dark colour again, come back and touch that. So we can get some dark colour. And then just go back where you want to be lighter. So I'm going to do this little one here. And I don't know how many different shades of purple there are here, but I kind of like the fact that they're not all the same. So again, I think actually if you keep touching that top, you're going to get pure colour, so maybe that's not the right thing to do. We'll do all the darks first, and then you can start at one end, go to the other end. By the time you come back, it's a shade paler. when you've just got a bare colour, you can just turn off. Now it's not going to move. I could scrub over that and the page would disintegrate, but I won't get anything. If I touch down here now, it's dark, so I want to go somewhere else. So we go here. And you get to know where to touch the pen. So that's got colour on it, and down here is obviously where the ink comes from. This is where you get the flooding from here. So I've got some colour on there. And with this being a water brush, you can kind of just keep colouring. So it's getting too pale now, so I'm going to go back there. And that's quite dark. And then I think it's about the same, so we're just going to come back in that way. Now I want that to be darker, but I'm not going to touch it because remember this is a colour page. So once you've touched it once, you can't go back really for a little while. But I can go down there. And it does dry fairly quickly, so you can't really go onto the telephone and come back. You kind of got to go with it really. So I don't really want to scrub any more there, I shall leave that bit. Again, I can touch on that little bit there. And then we can do these little windows as well. And then when we come back, we've just got that palest colour. We've nearly caught it all now. Oops, I don't really want to go there too many times because it's a colour book, but managed to get a very pale colour on there. So we've got quite a lot, and there is a very pale colour on that. There is a pale colour on that. But we've got some very dark darks. I'm thinking I might actually like to work like this. I think. No, this is going to be dark-ish. It's not a bad little way to work this. It's fairly quick, but there's something about monochrome. Again, we can take a very dark colour, start on the outside, do the middle one, go back to that one, go back to that one. So we've got 3 shades in one straight away. I think if you wanted continuous colour, I think you go right round and just next to each other and just stay next to each other. But if you want a variation, you can do the darks around the outside. So I can pick up some colour. I'm only practicing this because it's only a practice run. Again, we go back to that dark. So I think you could use them with a water brush, just touching the nibs, and you've got full control of all that colour then. So that's quite nice, having all that colour. Now I think probably at some point I will have to I'll have to wipe the tip. But it teaches you about tones and lights and darks, and then you'll see things that you like and you'll see things that you won't. And again, that's why I think that butterfly book would be quite good for. Because although I'm using a really strong colour, I do have a fair amount of control on this one. And I would never have found this way of working if I hadn't have had a bit of a mishap. And blobbed. Now, if you go on the website for Derwent, they will tell you how to deal with a blob, how to deal with the blobby moment when you get this rush of colour. I tend to tap it on the table and I tap it backwards in the hope that the ink will go back in. But then, of course, once it's out, you've got it everywhere. So I think I like the idea. I like the idea that we can actually use it rather than just wipe it on a paper towel, because you can definitely get 2 pages out of a drip. Now this particular one didn't drip, the first one did, but I got 2 pages out of it, and I kind of like that idea, but I always like to use all the colours rather than wash them down the drain, and this would have been just wiped away. And I would never have learnt how many purples you can get on 1 page. So I thought this would look quite good. Now once it's been dried for a while, you can go back to it. I'm still fiddling down that side of the pen. So I'm actually touching where it comes out, so, but again you can get a gradation if you want, from dark to light. And I kind of like that. So although I didn't need to, I've actually got a nice highlight on that roof. So all I'm doing is just touching the pen. So we'll start down here and I'll go to that one. It's a bit darker, that one. Go to this one. And the next one's quite big, so it's going to be different. And finally the top. So we've got all those gorgeous tones from this. So not only has it taught me about colour mixing and what I can do with different colours in this particular set. There's 20 pens, there's 20 different colours, but it's actually taught me that, now can we do this? Let me see if I can get some more. I don't know if there's any down here or not. So when you first spill it you kind of go everywhere looking if it's, and it should be quite strong then. Oh, we've probably got to the end of it, so now it's looking like the pen is clean. I think finally the pen is clean. So it's definitely cleaner, this pen now. Whoopsie. So we've got some nice marks going on. I think we'll just do that pale. You can always go back in it later and put some more on it. And you can still get some more paint from that. It's quite pale now. Just see if there's any on the end there. As I say, once it dries, if they've left this, it would have dried. I would have missed that opportunity, but it's doing okay now. Let's see if we can get a little bit more out. So now I want to finish the page now. So. If you touch the very nib, you should get dark colour. And again, it's quite a nice way to work. All you've got is one pen in one hand and a water brush in the other. So I shall carry on just for a few more minutes and it's looking very similar now. So just see if we can, that nib is almost clear. So we've got some nice soft effects. Some really nice soft ones now. So I don't think that last bit's going to come off. I think it's stuck on that. It definitely won't reconstitute once it's dry, because it just doesn't like to do that. And I looked at this page for a long time and could never decide what to do with it. And just by chance, I thought these spaces would look quite nice as a monochrome, single colour. If I happen to have a blobby moment, which I did. I'll just get this one out as well. I mean, it really is clean now. So we've got all these lovely soft pastel colours. And very quick, so you can then finish this and go back to the original page you were doing, because that would keep this wooden. If you'd left this dry on the pen, it will ruin it. But as if you go on the website, it should tell you what to do. I'm going to do that like that, and then this is where you get the blobby. This is what I was doing when I had a blobby moment. So I'm just gonna, just need to finish the page. But I've definitely got almost every scrap. And I've coloured a page as well. I think the little bit that's on the end is actually dry. I think I'm just picking up extra from the end of the nib now. But I just want to finish this page because it's almost finished. I like the little white windows. There's just one or two little tiny bits to finish. I missed. There's the snail at the bottom because this is a snail house. So again, I'm probably activating the end of this now because the colour's gone. The pen is clean. I need a little bit of colour to do my snail. But you have to do this straight away. Because if you don't, it will dry and you won't be able to reactivate it. So we really are now getting the softest, palest colour now. Just finish the snail because I can actually say I've finished something now. So, oopsie. So I can just drop a bit of colour into the snail. can feel the little pen. So this is a fine liner. This is what you should be doing with it really. But what you can't really do then is go in there because it's dried. It's a very strange phenomena, is this. And I do tend to have more control of the brush than I do of the little nib. I'm just going to put a little bit of this colour on my little toadstools. And again, you can see now it's getting very pale. But I don't mind these being pale because I do like the little houses. And there is a tiny little bit of ink, oops, that's dried. So I shall pan out, and now you can see how much paint I've wasted. Nothing, but there is a little bit of paint right on the end of that, so I'm just going to put that in there. And you can see it's clean now. There's a little bit of a map there. There's a bit there, because this is dried on acrylic. So now, just have to see if I can, by cleaning it, I've drawn out some more paint, so I've got to be careful. So now I have a nice shiny nib. So I've cleaned it with that one, and that's one I cleaned earlier. So I shall zoom out and you can see the pretty page. So that's the pretty page, all finished, and all because I had a bit of a blobby moment. So there's a lot of gorgeous ink in these graphic pens. So thanks for watching.